Alright, what up, peeps? Welcome to the channel again. Cam BXNY. You. I'm back at it. Back on the road again. Back to work. Part of my morning routine is I wake up, and as I have breakfast, I watch the news. And, I watch the local news, which really isn't all that local because they also show news from like different parts, different counties and different towns that have no idea where it is and what relevance it has towards me and the area that I live in and the people that live in my area. And then secondly, I watch a little bit of Good Morning America. And I'm also very underwhelmed with that as well because Good Morning America live from Times Square, New York, and then like in the middle of the programming they'll cut to like a local news channel, telling the local news and the weather and stuff. And the reason why that's so overwhelming is that underwhelming is that you can see the difference in quality. Like, you watch Good Morning America and it's high quality, like I guess they use really good cameras and all this stuff, and then they cut to the local news and it feels like I'm watching public access. Like, it's a joke. Anyway, some stories that I heard about was some doctor getting kicked off of American Airlines flight because she was wearing a romper, they call it. She was wearing a romper and it was they said it was not appropriate for the flight, and they were saying that like the shorts of it was like too short. And this it was an African American woman, and there were also other women with short shorts there, and they weren't being kicked off the flight. Ridiculous, man. They were like, nah, you gotta get out of here with that. That booty's too popping. You gotta get out of here. But you gotta. I wish you would have told them to mind their own business, man. Like, what are they, the fashion police? Get out of here. Get out of here with that. Another story, very serious. A fertility clinic. They implanted the wrong babies. I don't know what the right terminology for it, but they implanted the wrong babies into the wrong women, the wrong families, and they found out when they found out they messed up when an Asian family gave birth to non-Asian twins. What? That's insane. Holy moly. Crazy stuff. Let's see, what else? So I was talking to you in my previous videos about my passions and DIY stuff. We got music, film. Film is another one of my passions, and I've never worked in the film industry. I would like to. Maybe not necessarily on movies, but maybe as like a documentary filmmaker. Another one of my passions is kind of journalism. I didn't go to school for journalism. I studied a little bit of film in college, a little bit of media in college, but journalism, it's funny, like ever since high school and college, like I had some pretty awesome teachers that were telling us, the students, like, yo, journalists, you have some journalists that they do their job and they approach a story non-biased, and they look to really investigate the ins and outs of the matter without any bias. But then you got other journalists that they come straight out the gate with like accusatory language, and they come out very confrontational, and that's not cool. Like, as a journalist, you're supposed to be able to just present the facts and let the people make their own decisions on how they feel about the subject matter. But it seems like nowadays the media outlets and the news outlets and all the journalists, they want to present their own ideas and pass them on to you and hope that you adapt them. And the way they do this is by sensationalizing, they sensationalize some aspects of the whole story. Like recently, I think about a month back or so, there was like a shooting where this guy used 2 handguns, and he had a silencer, and the news decided to sensationalize this by saying this guy was heavily armed with 2 handguns. Like, what? 2 handguns? He was heavily armed with 2 handguns. They had to use that because they couldn't say that he was using an assault rifle because he used 2 handguns. He didn't use a rifle. And secondly, there's no such thing, contrary to what the news is telling you, there is no such thing as an assault rifle. AR-15, AR-10, whatever. There's AR pistols nobody's talking about. AR stands for Armalite. I guess it's like a name brand or something, or like a style of a weapon. I'm not entirely sure about that, but AR stands for Armalite. It does not stand for assault rifle. There's no such thing. There's no gun company that's ever came out with a weapon and named it an assault rifle. Ridiculous. Back to that shooting with the 2 handguns. The guy used the silencer. They also decided to sensationalize that this guy had a silencer. Like, who cares if he had a silencer? If you knew anything about firearms, you would know that silencers just like cut some of the decibels. It still makes it's still a handgun with a silencer is still pretty loud, and you still recommended to wear hearing protection. And also, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'm not knowledgeable on this. I don't really know much about this, but I'm judging this off of like video games, which is kind of dumb. But they say that silencers reduce the distance and accuracy of the firearm. So I guess ideally silencers are made for close quarter combat. Why the news decided to highlight this specific factor in the whole situation, I don't know. Silencers, and silencers aren't illegal. They're only illegal if you don't have the proper licensing or tax stamp for it, because You know, Uncle Sam just wants your money. You know, I heard that when silencers first came out, the guy who invented the suppressor would sell it at the gas station that he worked at, and you could pick it up. It was just an accessory. Like, you could pick it up at the gas station for like, I don't know, $1 or something. And now it's like made into this whole big thing. There's nothing big about silencers, suppressors. Yeah. So, film. I've been watching, last 2 days I kind of been watching in bits and pieces. I've been watching this movie, City of Lies. The story about who shot the notorious B.I.G. With Johnny Depp and Forrest Whitaker. And it's pretty funny watching a movie with Johnny Depp and he's talking about like, oh yeah, who's that there? That's Foxy Brown and Corrupt, and that's DJ so and so. I'm like, what? It's the notorious B.I.G. I never thought I'd watch something where Johnny Depp's talking about rappers. It's pretty funny. Let's see. Another movie I watched recently was Captive State. That's a pretty interesting movie, but it's also a little nutty. Something about aliens and the aliens living, cohabiting this area in Illinois, and the government is like monitoring everybody because everybody has these like implants to keep track of everybody, and man, that's scary. It's scary because I bet if Uncle Sam had it his way, and you know what I mean by Uncle Sam, if they had it their way, I'm pretty sure they would track everybody at all times. It's ridiculous. Hey, did any of you ever see the movie American Gangster? I wish I could get a reply for that. I just asked the question into a video camera, hoping somebody out there would say, oh yeah, I have. Well, American Gangster, what happened in American Gangster, specifically in regards to Vietnam? Who is in that movie? Is it Denzel Washington? Anyway, this guy, so this is a true story. In the movie, the guy was importing heroin from Vietnam into the United States, and he was criminalized for it, right? Let me tell you something else. I need you guys to think outside the box sometimes. Think outside the box with me, you know? In that same period of time, I watched on the History Channel or something. In that same period of time, Uncle Sam sent some, like, I don't know, this guy was like a Purple Heart. He was like a super soldier. He was like amazing at what he did. They sent him to Laos, not too far away from Vietnam, around the time of the Vietnam War, and they sent him to Laos to fight off some Contra and gain possession of their opiates and ship them back to the United States. Uncle Sam was running some testing because they wanted to figure out a way with the opiates to test out on, you know, a test crowd, and ultimately come come to a opiate that they could give to the general public, the United States citizens, to be able to control their minds. Except when they ran these tests, they realized that that the opiates did the complete opposite. It opened up people's minds, and got them to think all crazy stuff. So somehow they were like, all right, scratch that plan. This didn't work. We gotta liquidate these opiates, and they gave them off to somebody, and they ended up giving them or selling them. I'm not too sure. This was a little while that I saw this programming. This is a while back that I saw this programming, but those opiates in turn fueled the whole hippie movement with the drugs in the 1969 and that era with the hippies and stuff, and the people, and you had the hippies in Cali. I didn't want to say this, but I am gonna say it. But the dirty hippies in Cali, it's pretty funny, because another thing that I saw, unrelated to this, but another thing that I saw was that the Beatles, they came to the United States, they came to California, and they were like, oh, we're gonna go through Ashbury or whatever the popular neighborhood in, I think it was San Francisco, and they were told that there's a bunch of hippies over there, and the Beatles are like, oh yeah, those are our people. Like we need to drive through that neighborhood and meet them or whatever, right? Except when they drove into this area, like, these people were so dirty, and like they looked like homeless people, that when they saw that the Beatles were driving through, they got so excited, they started waving and all this stuff, and the Beatles, instead of stopping and getting out to greet their fans and stuff, they were like, no, keep it moving. They didn't even stop. That's crazy. Hippie movement, the hippie movement was pretty big as well, and on the East Coast we had the whole Woodstock 69 thingamajig. That was awesome. Crazy. Oh man. I went to Atlantic City 2 weekends ago, and I went to the Vans Warped Tour, and man, 2-day concert. That thing was ridiculous. That was crazy. It was awesome. It was like a euphoric experience, just being there with my friends. Like, I wish I was a teenager all over again, just rocking out at shows. I saw The Offspring, and it's funny, I watched, when I was like in middle school, I watched Woodstock 99 on pay-per-view, and I was like, man, I want to be there right now, because Korn was performing, and I was like, man, this must be a hell of an experience to to witness or whatever. And The Offspring also performed, and it's interesting because they said, Offspring performed, and they were there at Woodstock. They also performed the Warped Tour, and they were saying, I guess from their own experience, like, man, I think this is bigger. The Vans Warped Tour this year was bigger than Woodstock. That's crazy. I was hearing numbers like 26,000. Facebook was saying 30,000. This news website For Jersey, they said 60,000. That's insane. Anyway, it's time for me to go to work. I'll catch you guys later. Stay tuned. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.